What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Suzanne Vega. And given that we're going through her material in a more select, idiosyncratic way rather than going through chronologically the different albums, we're going to listen to a tune from her Solitude Standing album, 1987. Thank you to Sophia for providing the material and for giving me some insight and guidance as to which songs might be good for reactions. And we're going to hear Calypso. Now, Calypso is a mythological figure. I believe she was a nymph who, at one point, held Odysseus and prevented him from leaving, or Ulysses if you prefer. But I think she was eventually pressured by other supernatural deities to let him go. I know also, if you are familiar with Caribbean music, that it's a style of music from that region which actually was influential in the early days of ska and reggae music in Jamaica. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get overt references to the mythological figure, but I also would not be surprised if there's some stylistic or musical similarities or elements that speak to the Calypso genre. Maybe if I had to predict which was more likely, I would say lyrical references to the mythological figure, but again, Calypso is a style of music, so it's not impossible. In any case, I don't really know what to expect. Her songs often have this eccentric narrative, not something that you could necessarily predict just based on a concept. So let's see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Suzanne Vega. The track is Calypso, and it's from her 1987 album Solitude Standing.
My name is Calypso and I have lived alone. I live on an island and I awakened to the dawn a long time ago. I watched him struggle with the sea. I knew that he was drowning and I brought him into me. Now today, come morning light, he sails away after one last night. I let him go. My name is Calypso, my garden overflows. Thick and wild and hidden is the sweetness there that grows. My hair it blows long as I sing into the wind. I tell of nights where I could taste the salt on his skin, salt of the waves, and of tears, and all he pulled away, I kept it here for years. Now I let him go. My name is Calypso. I have let him go. In the dawn he sails away to be gone forevermore. And the waves will take him in again, but he'll know their ways now. I will stand upon the shore with a clean heart and my song in the wind. The sand may sting my feet and the sky
lyrically and sonically fascinating. So first of all, it sounds like it's the tale of Odysseus, or at least part of his story, as recounted most famously, I think, by Homer, but from the perspective of Calypso, not as one of the other characters and sections of the larger Odyssey, but in fact from the point of view of a supporting character, including what happens after Odysseus leaves and goes back out into the sea, and how it's going to be a lonely time for her, and she's singing into the wind, which incidentally, I feel like some of her vocals in this, they really captured that notion of singing notes and music onto the wind and having them being carried into the sky. So I thought that was a nice dual-layered manner of delivery. And yeah, ultimately speaking to the motivations for why she wanted to keep him, but also why she let him go on a personal, like, psycho-emotional level, not just because that choice was brought to bear by the influence of other supernatural beings. So yeah, a really interesting set of lyrics as I took them, in that it takes a very classic tale of literature and mythology and then reframes it from a different character's perspective and what they might have been feeling and thinking, and references to the intimacy, the closeness with which she felt with, or that she felt with Odysseus, or again Ulysses, in that she could taste the salt, the sea on his skin, and she could feel what he had been through that proximity. And then sonically, some of the synths or some of the keyboard sounds had this marine, oceanic feel to them. The guitar really had a compelling solo, or a section where it sort of took over the sonics and had me thinking about what I had just heard thematically, but expressed through music. There was this deep bass pulse, which I always think, could be taken as a heartbeat or as the center feeling of a tune. So there were many elements sonically that felt like they were part of the story being told here. And again, I think I've made this comparison before. Some of Suzanne's tunes remind me of a later version, 20 years later or so, of what I'm hearing from Joni Mitchell in the late 60s, where it's this eccentric guitar poet weaving stories that have really interesting, if not always clear, plot points and sections of a larger narrative. So yeah, she has a really compelling voice, and she spins stories with it and uses that voice seemingly to thematically express part of the tales that she's telling. So yeah, I don't know, maybe this is a comparison that either doesn't make sense to people, or maybe many other people have already commented on, but just going through two different seemingly unconnected deep dives, I'm finding a lot of convergence in what they do. Although again, Joni, I'm talking about albums from the late 60s, Suzanne, I'm talking about albums from the mid 80s, but either way, I definitely note some conceptual and musical connections. In any case, a really fascinating story, and as someone who is a historian but also is interested in mythological history and the history of classic literature, I'm just very happy to hear a tune that takes that reference as a starting point but then puts its own spin on it. So, didn't hear any musical influences of the genre Calypso. I suppose that was a longer shot in terms of interpreting the title, but again, being aware of that genre as well as its influence on a couple musical styles that I'm very fond of, ska and reggae, I was hoping maybe there'd be something there. But I think it was mostly, if not entirely, about the character who she inhabited for the song. So, a really cool one. Looking forward to more from Suzanne. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.